Ladies and gentlemen, gather around for a unique look into the world of custom motorcycling. We've gathered some of the industry's top builders and fabricators on this stage to show you their skills live and in person. Watch as they chop, grind, and weld their creations into existence right before your very eyes. Feel free to ask questions at any time directly to your host, Pat Jansen. The doors of the shop are open, so pull up a stool, kick back, and welcome to the Grease and Gears Garage.
All right, I'm Pat Jansen. I'm getting my personal designer. I've got my Ukiwala bag guy here. He's dressing me up. I'm going to be done here in just a second. Here we go. All right, we got to get my blouse over it now. All right, we are Grease and Gears Garage. It's a little awkward having a man do this too. While I'm here. You know, it's like going and getting a suit tailored. You never want to have anybody watching that. Ooh, thank you. All right, man. Do want to invite you into our garage today. We travel around the country, the three of us, Will and Heather, the four of us. We take our tools around to rallies. Thank goodness Progressive International Motorcycle Shows allowed us to be right here in all their shows. This is our 6th show with them. We invite our friends up that are custom motorcycle builders from around the country to give you a little bit of a view into what a shop life looks like. So you're in our garage now. If you need to see something a little closer. Oh, did I? Sorry. Okay, thanks. If you need to see something a little closer, if you would like to understand more, ask a question. Come up here. Let us teach you something. We want to demystify the idea of customizing your motorcycle. So if you're riding a dirt bike, a BMW, a Honda, a Yamaha, a Harley, a Chopper, whatever it is, we want you to be more comfortable with being able to modify it and make it your own. We also do this on Facebook Live, so we'll have a lot of folks joining us there. But what's nice about that is you can go to motorcycleshows.com. That is the official website of Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. You can go to JMP Cycles, the world's largest distributor of aftermarket motorcycle parts. You can go to Cycle Source Magazine, or you can just go to YouTube at Grease and Gears Garage. We have our own channel there, and you can see all of the Grease and Gears Garage segments that we've done. You can go there and you can learn how to narrow a tank, build a tank from scratch, build handlebars, rebuild motors, all kinds of cool stuff. Today, we've got the Grease and Gears Garage crew working on War Pony. Chris, what are we going to be doing today?
So we're going to do a lot of stuff in a big hurry here because we're down to this show and one more show, and we have to have this bike finished.
Because Chris is going to ride it from Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, right?
In the back of my truck.
In the back of his truck.
No, but we're going to start working on the front fender. You can see here we have 2 different fenders. This was our mock-up back at the shop. We liked the shape that this was, but it was a little bit too wide. It's a 6-inch fender that Lead Sled makes. We started making our lines on it, where we wanted things to fall, how we wanted them to be shaped. And while Lead Sled made us this 5.5-inch fender that's perfect for the tire, it's a full-size fender. So we're starting right now putting our design on. We're going to cut the back and the front of it, get it over to the motorcycle, and we're going to make some reliefs that fender will sit in between those forks. We'll put those reliefs in the side here using some simple exhaust pipe. Hopefully get that all wrapped up today. At the same time, Moose is going to come back up here. Moose and Nick were making the stainless exhaust system. He's going to be working on the exhaust at the same time. If we have a little time at the end, we're going to move on to the fuel tank. The fuel tank is also almost done. We get all that done here today in Chicago. It's going to be a very good day.
An hour and a half.
Right. So go.
Now, what's cool too is we mentioned we got these fenders from Lead Sled. One of our segments that you can go back and watch from the Cleveland show, Pat Patterson from Lead Sled actually spins these fenders. And so it's a fascinating process to see. Most people just assume that fenders are stamped overseas by a big machine and it boom. Pat actually hand spins all these fenders, cuts them, welds them. And so go and check that segment out because it's really a cool process to watch. Now, Chris, tell us a little bit too about War Pony and why this bike has come together the way it has.
Well, War Pony started out for us as a, that's the timing.
Timing, man. He's watching you. Every time your mouth opens, he goes to cut again.
But it was a 2003 Ultra that we had. We had ridden it all over the country, making the magazine. There was about 240,000 miles on it. And a friend of mine borrowed it and totaled it. So that left us with an opportunity. It's a 2003 motorcycle that's totaled. What are you really going to do with that bike?
You're not going to put it back together.
But I couldn't let it go because sentimentally the bike meant a lot to me. So we paid the insurance company something like $2,000 to get the bike back. And then I found out that Paco makes these great FXR frames that you can take an entire touring chassis or touring driveline and slip into an FXR frame. We already had a killer motor, had the Baker DD6 transmission. So we hey, what's up, baby? So we started making a bike that was going to be a little more performance oriented. We got hooked up with the GSXR front end, machined some parts to make that work. All of a sudden we started to realize we weren't making a street motorcycle anymore. We were building, wow. That was incredible.
That would have been a rock and roll picture right
You should see it back there. But we weren't making a street motorcycle anymore. We were making a bike to go to Bonneville with, which I'm totally okay with because I have a couple street motorcycles, but I don't have any for Bonneville.
And what I like about that, too, is that it's a team effort. We're all throwing in on it, and your wife, Heather, is totally on board with you.
She's totally behind it.
Totally behind it. We have video evidence now of him riding at Bonneville. Bonneville, if you don't know, is a dream place for motorcycle people. If you're a gearhead in any way, you've got to make the pilgrimage to Bonneville. It's where people set land speed records of all the time. It's where the cat from, I think he was from England, 15 years ago, broke the sound barrier at Bonneville. I mean, it's just crazy.
Well, Bonneville's a really special place just to be. Just to take a motorcycle and ride from the edge of the salt out to the pits it'll change your life, you know. And the idea of getting to run a bike there, you know, you don't ever go to Bonneville thinking, I'm going to go out there and get a record. If you just get out there and get to run a bike, you don't crash your brains out. That's a successful Bonneville. So
my goal for Bonneville is to take I got a 61 Norton Manxman. It was a 2-year only bike they built. It was the first 650 that Norton ever made. And so export only bike. They were really ugly. They painted them red, white, and blue and shipped them to the United States. But I've got one. So if I can build that motor, put it in a chassis, and take it to Bonneville and go 25 miles an hour, I'll have a land speed record on a Norton Manxman. So that's going to be my land speed record.
Can I help Moose get set up?
See, that's a safe way to get a land speed record. I'm not an idiot. Choose something nobody rides.
I'm looking.
Some guy has a land speed record on a Vespa. This is Chris Moose. We just call him Moose. Oh, and he's from Misfit Industries in Dallas, Texas.
Very good. You remember.
Yeah, man. He's a good friend of ours. He's working on the stainless steel exhaust. Catch us up to speed. What are you doing?
Well, where we left off the other day, we basically got our primary pipe out of our front head started. We're going to go ahead. We've got the merge welded on here that Nick from Rubber Two Wheels, who had started the process with us, he had made a little adapter that allows it to go from 1 3/4 to 2 inch. So that'll fit nicely onto the tube. And then we will go ahead and add about another 4 inches to this, which will give us the length we need to connect to our muffler.
Right on.
We'll be doing that as a slip-on application where this will fit inside there. So we'll have to do a little bit of work here to make that happen. And then something fell out of the back side of me, I thought.
Yeah, so did I. I heard something drop behind you. I thought, whoops.
And then we'll work on getting our rear head tied into the muffler as well. We're going to use a little less of the 1 3/4 tube in order to do that because we're trying to restrict it less because it's so short.
So you can get it tuned properly.
Trying to tune the length a little bit.
Chris went into that a little bit. If you ever look at exhaust, probably the best example that I can think of is when you have two pipes on the side of a motorcycle and the one out of, they're the same length. So the one out of the rear, it makes it look a little, it's longer, you know, they're staggered duals. The reason they do that is because you want to maintain the same amount of back pressure in each cylinder. There's a variety of different ways you can do that if you don't want to, if you're creating a custom exhaust pipe. And so the way we're doing it, Chris is doing it, is by changing the diameter of the material that's used, which will allow for the proper amount of compression. So when you talk about tuned exhaust, tuned headers on a car, that's what it means. It means that all of those tubes have the same length so that you're getting the exact same pressure on each cylinder. I think everything we do today is going to be loud. Oh, somebody on Facebook Live wants to know about your BMR shirt, Chris.
Big Mountain Run.
Big Mountain Run.
So a bunch of years ago, me and a bunch of our friends started a little event in the hills of Tennessee called Big Mountain Run. And it was, the idea behind it was, if we made the perfect ride for ourselves, go through Wheels Through Time Museum, ride the Dragon, down to the Hiwassee River. If we had a great ride, you know, spent the whole weekend together and no one else showed up, it would be the perfect event anyway. So we did that for...
No T-shirt vendors.
No T-shirt vendors.
Not the T-shirt vendors are... Can they hear us from here?
So we did the event. Not a lot of people showed up for years and years. We're doing the 9th one this year. And now we specifically say it's really not that good, because there's just enough people that come to it now that it's really good. If we get more people, it'll start to suck.
Yep. It will. Hopefully I'll get to go there. I don't know. That's the same weekend every year as the Republic of Texas rally.
$25.
I know. He says every time I say that, they have to pay us. So I wish that was true. I just walk around saying it all the time.
Well, I'm either
Republic of Texas rally. Republic of Texas
rally.
Ching, ching.
I'm either charging them or you.
So, but I do think that I'm going to be out there hosting that event during the BMR rally. So it's always, I always have something. I know. It conflicts with that. So I've never gotten to do that run. So that's the BMR.
So basically, we just started to shape the back side of this fender. You saw me over on the belt sander. We roughed in our design for it and roughly where we want things to be, so we can start taking a real look at it.
I really wish that you and Mark, I mean, I know we're trying to get this bike ready to run off the stage in 2 weeks. Looks like it's a lot together. It's a lot not together. This is a part of a build where people would come in and say, oh, man, you're close. Not really that close. Not really that close. But
it is really that close.
Close to not being done on time. But I like the way you did with the fuel line and the tape, how you radiused your line.
Well, listen, me and Mark have a shop back in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and it's called Flat Broke Chops and Rods. And we haven't always had the fanciest tools, and the whole shop still runs on a wood burner, and it's kind of, it's lowbrow, you know, but it's what we do. And we tell everybody, when you see us doing stuff, there might be better ways. Someone might know a more intelligent way to go after this, but we do it because we're having fun. So when it comes to stuff like getting a radius for something, I'm sure there's a machinist tool or something that you would use, but basically,
Moose has it.
To get a radius, all you need is a piece of rubber tubing. And if you hold two ends of that at a given point, it's going to make its own radius. It's a nice little cheat.
Where is that other fender?
I need a Sharpie.
Sharpie?
Okay. Don Bashline. Don Bashline checking in from Facebook. He said, it's nice to see me actually working. I love working on motorcycles. That's the worst thing to do, though. Anytime you ever find something that you love in your life and you make it into what you do full time. I'm going to see this. Something like that.
You know, and everybody looks at us all the time because we go to all the rallies and we go to, you know, all the IMS shows around the country. You know, like, oh, man, you guys have such a cool life, you know, because everybody we see loves motorcycles. The difference is everybody else rode their motorcycle there.
Right.
we never get to ride anymore, man.
All right, so same thing with this one.
Under the table.
Ankle breaker.
So like we were telling you about the section of rubber hose. You know, I don't have a steady enough hand to make a nice curved line like that, but if I use this piece of rubber hose, it's going to run that radius right over that fender for me. Go ahead, mark that up.
What?
So that's good enough for me. We'll cut that out now, and that'll start to make the front of our fender line.
Grinder.
You guys see that? That's a cool trick, right?
Use that one. Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff with Greasing Gears Garage that we're trying to encourage people to do. It really doesn't matter what you're riding. But you can customize it. You can put a different front fender on it, I mean, there's little things that you can do to your bike that'll, you can hand make something or at least, modify something and make it your own. So that's always nice.
What do we cut this with?
You can also, J&P Cycles. They're the world's largest distributor of aftermarket motorcycle parts. Great partner of ours. They do the J&P Cycles Ultimate Builder Custom Bike Show here. And they have a great catalog. For any bike that's represented here, they have a part that you can buy to customize that bike. And they'll get it out to you really quick. So, look through those catalogs here and start dreaming about how you can make your bike your own. You don't have to really even have any skills other than to be able to bolt on and bolt off stuff to make your bike really cool.
Perfect motor.
They've been around, and John Parham, started that company going to swap meets and stuff, selling parts, and really wanted just to help people customize their bikes. So check out J&P's catalog, see what you can do to customize yours. We have Evan now. Evan Favaro, how are you? Did you have a good time last night? I don't remember. Everybody said we had a good time last night, though. Evan, you had a great time. I remember. So, what are you helping us with, Evan? Oh, very good. Yep. Evan has Speakeasy Motors up in Waukegan, New York. That young man is super talented. He also works, I'm guessing you must work 120 hours a week because he's the lead fabricator at OCC, Orange County Choppers, which is about, 30 minutes from your house now? 10 minutes. And then he's got Speakeasy Motors, and he does that 60 hours a week. So he's a busy guy, super talented. Speaking of the J&P Cycles Ultimate Builder Custom Bike Show, the awards, this is the national championship round for that. The builders from all over the country are here in that back room. They've got their bikes. They're going to give away $70,000 in money and prizes this afternoon for that show. And somebody's going to win that Paco roller over there and that nice lift from HMC Industries. Right there near Al Wilkerson and I. Hello, Al. Al's a buddy of mine. He's got a shop there in Pleasant Hill, Iowa. HMC Industries is in Marshalltown, Iowa. Well, he and Bob have brought a really nice bike out that they put together for the show. Al has bitter and old school choppers. If you ever need a widget to build a bike, he builds motorcycle build pieces. If you need a bung, a bracket, a neck, a framing, he'll build you a frame too there and send it to you. If you need anything like that, just go to his website. He's got it. And if you don't find it and you call him, you can get a hold of him through his intricate answering system, which is him picking up the phone. And if you describe it to him, scratch it out on a piece of paper, he'll make it and send it to you. But really, really handy to have around. I built a Royal Enfield, a 10.5-foot long Royal Enfield chopper for Royal Enfield North America last year. Come, between you and Nick, I swear, drawing on me. And Al was invaluable in that build. I mean, I could not have done that without him. So we even got a chance. He came over to the house, and we drank and drank. But right before we drank too much, we got the geometry all set up on the frame. A lot of fun. Good guy. We got a lot of stuff going on up here. You're just joining us on Facebook Live or wandering through. We're Grease and Gears Garage. We're custom motorcycle builders. We travel around the country with our tools. We invite custom motorcycle builders on stage to show kind of what they do, just a little bit of a slice of life in a custom motorcycle shop, and hopefully to inspire, encourage, entertain. You know, we want to get you guys involved in the process of customization, whatever you ride. If it's a dirt bike, a Honda, a Yamaha, a BMW, a KTM, a Royal Enfield, whatever it is, we want you to be able to feel confident in being able to make that your own in some way. So we're going to we just demystify some of the tools. We demystify some of the processes. Some of the stuff you're just never going to be able to do. A lot of the stuff, though, with just a little bit of time and effort and investment, you can certainly do. So today we've got a lot of guys working on our bike. Well, it's a Grease and Gears Garage bike called War Pony. We started this build in Long Beach. We started this build in Long Beach at the first show for Progressive International Motorcycle Shows. And we made the statement then that we were going to finish the build. We started with a raw Paco FXR style frame. We were going to finish the build by Washington, D.C., the last show, which is now in 2 weeks. The first show, that seemed like a good idea. The second show, it looked like a good idea. The third show, it was like, maybe we bit off more than we can chew. The fourth show, we can do it. We're coming up on we're at the sixth show. That was a bad idea. Yeah, it was a bad, so in two, we got it, we can do it, we can do it. So, but 2 weeks, that thing's supposed to start up and ride off the stage. Oh yeah, the motor that is actually going to be used in that is at Zippers, getting all freshened up. But we don't get the motor until Washington D.C. show. It's being shipped to that show. So we're going to have to plumb all the brakes, plumb all the lines, wire it. We don't even have a kickstand welded to the thing yet. I got to have goals. I think today we'll have the custom exhaust finished. If Moose, well, we sure will now. I just looked. Crystal Hess from Motorcycle Missions is helping Moose, so we'll for sure have it done, because he doesn't really get anything done unless she's around, because when she's not around, they're boyfriend, girlfriend. So he's always looking for her while he's working. It's sick. It's like junior high, you know. It's terrible. But we have this red screen up because they look sexier in reds. No. They're welding, and if you look into a weld, it'll burn your eyes and your skin. It's called flash burn. You'll see a lot of guys that are TIG welded that'll go to hit something, they'll close their eyes to tack it. I tell people all the time, if you take something to somebody and they're welding it, and at any point in the process they close their eyes, get whatever they're working on it and take it to somebody else. You got to be able to see what you're welding. But also, if you close your eyelids aren't thick enough to protect your corneas from flash burn, and it'll burn your eyes. It feels like a sunburn, but it can do permanent damage. So we set this up. Plus, we're making sparks, and there are these guys around called fire marshals. They don't like sparks or fire in buildings in public. So this is also kind of for them, but more for your protection. Chris, are you still working on that fender? I got to get back here and see what Chris is doing. You made quick work of that, my friend.
Well, I just did the right side of the front part, but I think we're getting there. So at this point, I want to get some stuff to tuck up in there and see what my profile looks like.
Dale Crawford. I have not yet gotten the tank from Motone, who has given me a steel Cafe Racer tank for a project I'm working on. I haven't gotten it yet, but Kyle says it's here because he also has a Marlboro clock, a vintage Marlboro clock that somebody sent me, and I want to make sure I get that.
I got that tank in my trailer.
Oh, I'm getting it. Moose has it. Tell him I'm going to grab it. Or I don't need it to go back to Texas. I want to. No, I don't want to come to Texas if it's in your trailer in Chicago.
Okay.
This is my U koala bag that I keep messing with. It's this handy bag. That was real nice. He gave it to me. It's got a gun holster in it. Somewhere. Oh yeah, right there. Put a gun there. Tic Tacs, knickknacks. I don't know. It's a good. It's nice though. It works real good. I always look at these though, like not this one because it's got multiple straps, but you know, fanny packs were popular. I always wondered, why do people put everything that's valuable to them, their money, their passport, their ID, their credit cards, so that thieves know I don't really have to knock them down and roll them. I can just take that. It's got their whole world in it. But this is different because it's strapped to my leg. If somebody gets this off of me, Al likes it. You want one now, don't you? Al's looking. You'll take it. Al's bigger than me. Al, you probably could just take this one. So, where were you last night, Al?
Come here.
Gibson's? Oh, I can't afford Gibson's. oh, you dined and dashed? Yeah. I could have used you last night. I could have used some help.
Hey, Heather.
Heather. That's sweet, isn't it? This is Heather Callan. That's Chris's wife. She's giving him the okay sign if he's done okay on the fender.
Well,
but you got to have that. My wife doesn't do that. She could walk to the shop. What? Okay. She could walk to. It's not her thing.
Okay. Where'd the Sharpie go?
Heather's good about that. But you see a lot of bikes too. I mean, you're with Chris every place, so you see thousands of bikes a year. You develop an eye after that amount of time.
Because those have to slide. The fender stays.
Now I get what you were doing, the side panels.
I don't know.
I thought you were doing something with that side cover.
Look at it from the
you
front.
Brought for the bike, and I was like, yeah, he's got a nice billet piece that he's
really
banging
close. I'd be more comfortable.
Chris, talk to us about what you guys are doing over there. What are you thinking?
So we're trying to make sure that the profile of the fender looks good, but at the same time, this is an inverted front end. So when we get the mounting solution, you can see here and back here is where that fender's actually going to mount. That's going to stay still. The fender, the tire, and everything is going to stay still, and this suspension is going to want to travel up and down. To make room for that, we're going to make little reliefs in the fender where it'll actually concave in around the fork legs, and we're trying to decide where at exactly before we go any further so we can start allowing for those cutouts.
And the tool that you use to hold a fender at the proper height off the tire.
Couple of shop rags. Tape,
whatever it takes.
Tubing.
I do it on my front fenders. You try to keep them hugged down as close as you can, but you can use old chain. Well, I guess you could use a new chain if you have enough money, break out a new chain, but you can lay that over your tire and that'll clearance your fenders a decent amount. Are you okay, Moose?
I'm always okay.
I don't know why when I'm behind it, I feel like a go-go dancer. This thing's coming down, Moose. I got to do something different here.
Now my helper's gone.
I feel like my pants are falling down. Where's Heather?
Prop something up here to hold this up in place. We're going to have to find something to hold the muffler.
I don't know. It's just, I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it, Roy.
How about the blocks?
Got Roy Martin out here from Roy's Toys, and all the way from Denver, Colorado. Always good to have him around. I love this Chicago show because all the people we see all over the country, all of a sudden when they win, you know, they get invited to the Chicago show for the national championships of the JMP Cycles Ultimate Builder Custom Bike Show, the bike show with the longest name in the world. And you know it's long when you have to take 2 breaths to say it. But everybody gets to come together. It's kind of like a family reunion here in Chicago. This is the only city we go to, though, where people get in fights. You notice that? My mom was born, I was born in Naperville. I talked funny because they moved me to the south.
Good.
Naperville. Well, hello there.
This is my favorite part when Evan does this to Pat.
Scares me every time. Evan is using Heather.
Good with that?
Evan. I'm not until you get your foot away from that thing. Evan is like, I feel like Evan's my son. He's the same age as my oldest son, and
like that.
Never more so than
Let's
this
cut
show,
that, you want to cut
because
the other side and then
Friday
we'll
morning,
knock these out?
no, Saturday morning, he's sleeping. We're in the same house. Everybody else is up and ready to go to the show. Some people have already left for the show. Evan has to be at the show. We're his ride to the show, and he pulls the covers over his head. I said, "You got to get up, Evan." And he said, "You're not my dad."
Not the builder.
No, I'm not his real dad.
Huh?
See, my oldest son is my stepson, and he never pulled that because he knows I'd have shot him in the bed. But he was the same way, so I got to get him up, get him dressed. Did you brush your teeth?
Transferring that
Twice.
Wait a minute. Wait, are you talking about getting him ready this morning?
No, that was Saturday morning.
I was like, wait a minute. He was here before you were.
Oh, yeah, this morning I slept in.
The dog.
I was tired.
The dog.
We stayed out late last night. I didn't. I was a chaperone for Mandy and Ben from Legion Cycles. Well, they were with me. Yeah. Ben nearly got me in trouble last night. No, this city is the only one we go to, though, where for some reason it's just, I don't know. I was saying I'm from Naperville. My uncle lives in LaGrange Park. They were born right across from Farragut High School, though. They went to Farragut High School. So my mom has that Chicago edge to her still. She lives in Florida. And my uncle is just this angry little man that sounds like Joe Pesci. And you're like, "What are you so angry about all the time?" He said, "I'm not angry." I'm like, "You seem a little angry." But being from the South, there's a lot of tension in your city. You guys stay right on that edge, right on the cusp. I like it right up until I step on that edge. And then,
Just a little bit.
no, it's a great city. I love this show. You guys get motorcycles in Chicago, too. I mean, you guys ride everything across the board. All right? They throw things at me? Yes. Somebody's got a Facebook question.
Square?
What I had going on.
Anything square? Something like stand off the table.
We do Facebook Live this. That's one of the reasons why I think it's the only reason that Progressive International Motorcycle Shows has us here. It's kind of cool, you know. You guys get to see it here in person. But on Facebook Live, we'll have any place on a segment from it varies, but 20 to 60,000 viewers around the world. Somebody, Heather was just saying, somebody from Australia is watching us now. What is their name? Tamaquit? It sounds like a cold medicine.
Hey, Pat.
Oh, Tama Wanahi. It's a good name. Sorry I butchered it. Thanks for watching. Yes, sir.
This is pretty cool. So we made the one side of the front part of our fender how we wanted it. Now Chris is coming back and showing us how to template that so that we can take that exact same shape and move it to the other side.
And Egg is eventually going to shoot us. Egg in the back, because we keep standing in front of and putting stuff in front of the camera where he, oh, sorry. I couldn't have planned that better. Sorry, Egg.
Sorry, Ed.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, he can tell you.
So basically what I'm doing, I'll turn around a minute for you guys. I'm creating a flexible template for this fender because they've cut one side. I saw what he was doing to try to transfer it to the other side and said, you know what, it's a perfect opportunity to show you guys how to do this. So I learned this from a lot older gentlemen that shape metal way better than me.
I was glad to share that knowledge with you, Chris.
Just glad you were there. So what I'll do is I create a crisscross pattern of tape on the profile. You got a razor blade? A razor blade specifically, not a knife. Thank you. So I'll create a nice little tape template here on the fender. So create a little crisscross template, something you can peel back. This tape actually, when you layer it two different directions, it allows it to flex both ways. So I can take this and turn it inside out, kind of like an oil can. I'll be able to take and put this on the table with a square and make a reference point on the fender here. Transfer that vertically to the top side. Now I've got a mark on the top and bottom of this fender that are in the same point on a vertical plane. So when I take this tape off, I'll take my knife, and so that's a big knife. So I'll cut this little triangle out right here, and that'll give me a point that I can transfer that to the other side. So now I've got this point justified here. I've marked it on both sides vertically. I'll peel this off, and I can lay it on the other side where this point is, and I can transfer this cut line on the outside of the fender. So you get it pretty close, and then the rest of it's just dialing it in. Just kind of look at it and shape it and get it where you need it.
What did you call this tool? No, I was just kidding.
This is a defibrillator.
Okay.
And that is a knife thingy.
That's a knife.
It's
That's a knife, mate.
It's not.
See, we're helping out with our Australian.
I've got an Australian that works for me.
What are you doing?
It's actually back there in the championship room.
Oh, that's nice.
He's got a translator too, so.
Now, is he really from Australia or is he from New Zealand?
No, he's from Australia.
They don't like each other.
They don't like each other, and you don't say that. But you know, it's interesting. So I learned in Sturgis that Australian is really drunk Bostonian.
Is that what it is?
Yeah. No offense to anybody from Boston, but we had, he was standing there talking to people, and these two drunk guys from Boston were just going 100 miles an hour. None of us could understand them at all. And Dane was over there just talking to him full speed like everything was fine. And I was like, as long as you guys understand each other, I'm good.
I've had to interview Jody Perowitz on numbers of occasions, and I just watch her mouth, and I'm like, I don't even know how she forms words that sound like that. I can't even do that voice at all. I mean, she's from Boston now. All right, Evan, are you close?
Yeah.
All right. Chris,
So,
what are you doing? Oh, you're helping.
Like I was saying on that tape, you can see how I can make the concave pattern flex the other direction. I've got that little justification point.
Out of here, and then
Flip it over to the other side. And because most of this curve that was retained down here is still up here, I can now take this all the way to the front of the fender and transfer the cut line over.
Did he talk to you about that?
You guys came way up in the front of the fender. You wrapped all the way to the front here.
Right.
So I might need to add a little bit of tape
Yeah.
to the front of my pattern to get the nose, because they actually cut past the edge of the
I'm
nose.
sure Chris would let you cut those out if you wanted to finish that in some other way.
Plus, I'm finally getting to play with the exhaust cords.
Hey, tape that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Here.
Well, you finish that job first, and then we'll have you weld the gas in. I wish that my shop looked like this, don't you? Mike Harden is a friend of ours, and he got on Facebook Live and said, Pat, do you really get paid just to watch other people work? I would love this job at my shop, just to watch, have these guys show up and work. What were you going to ask me, ma'am? Oh, these you can get from Misfit Industries. They're produced for them by an engine company called ICE Engine Works. And they are an exhaust modeling system that allows you to very quickly and easily model your exhaust in the in a custom exhaust. Well, Al, have you ever seen these? No, I like that. Yeah. ICE. Oh well, it's Misfit Industries who distributes them, so they got dealer costs and everything. You should come up here and take a look at these.
I'll do the Cliff Notes 5 minutes or less version of the whole kit real quick if you want to see.
Yeah, come up here.
So basically,
you can come around the edge.
You get exhaust Legos.
All of us picking him up. I haven't seen you since SEMA, man.
Hi, my name's Chris Moons.
It's good to meet you.
I'm talking. Shut your mouth.
I was talking.
So you get basically exhaust Legos. This is what we're going to call them, but this is an exhaust modeling kit. You basically snap these together. It has little groups of marks on here. It allows you to orient it the way you need to in order to model your exhaust. This happens to just be a bag of straight. But you get, for the 1 3/4 diameter and the 2-inch diameter, you get 36 inches of each, the straight for each, and for the 2, 3, and 4-inch centerline radius on 1 3/4, and then for the 2-inch diameter, you get 3 and 4-inch centerline radius. And when I say that, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's a 4-inch centerline radius for a 2-inch diameter piece of tubing. So you'd be able to model this in plastic and then go over there and kind of figure out where you want it to go before you ever cut one of these pieces of tubing. And this is expensive. This is like $70. So you don't want to cut it wrong and waste it. You're able to actually make it up in plastic in real space with all the interferences that you have trying to route it. And you know that it can exist there physically before you actually spend any money to cut your material or order your material for that matter.
Because I don't care who you're talking to. Can you guys actually hear us talking over that? Okay. I don't care who you're talking to that's building exhaust. Some people are better guesstimators than others. But without that system, until that system, everybody was just kind of guesstimating where things needed to go, and you're cutting little pieces of tubing, you're tacking them together, you're taping them together, you're trying to see where it goes.
A lot of length there, is that what you want?
And this just makes it so much simpler. What would take a shop 3 days to build an exhaust system, you can pretty much do it in a day. If you're a garage builder, or you're in a community garage and you got friends and you're always getting together and one guy welds and one guy has a tire changing machine, and you might be that person that has no skill. I was just kidding. I pointed at this guy. He's like, sad that he didn't deny it though. Now, you might not have anything really to offer the group. You get this kit, and you can start modeling custom exhaust for all your buddies' bikes. They're going to be super excited about that.
My verdict is I love it, Pat.
All right, good. Well, it's got Al's stamp of approval. When he puts a stamp on something, that stamp stays there.
So real quick, to wrap that up.
Yep.
So once you've actually modeled it in plastic, Crystal, hold that up if you would, please. So you basically can figure out what you need in space. You kind of look at these pieces, you say, okay, there's one segment, this is flat here, so this is another segment. As it turns, that becomes a piece where you actually have to cut and rotate the tubing. So this will be the third segment. So you would put tape on here to say that's the end of part 2, 3, 1, whatever. You separate it into pieces, and then you would take this. This is the wrong size for that, but you would take this along with your tubing bend.
Can I work this?
Wrong size. But either way, you would take the appropriate size tubing and put it on here. you model that up in plastic first. And so if this were the plastic piece, you would lay it up here and you would correspond that with the cut mark on your bandsaw, tighten this up, then grab your steel, put it on here, run it through the bandsaw, cut it, and it cuts it directly on the center line because the radius is dictated by the pivot point here. These will always interconnect if you cut them on the center line, so you don't have any interference angles. You're worried about, fitment. And the efficiency is that you're able to plan exactly what you're going to do with your exhaust before you ever buy material, which allows you to quote a job correctly or resell the job. So if you know somebody that likes that pipe that your buddy has, as long as you write it all down, you know how much it costs, what material to order, and what process you're going to go to in order to order it.
Because inevitably what happens is, because you're guesstimating, you'll say, oh, that's going to be a big exhaust system, and you'll say, I'm going to need, 4 of these bends. I'm going to need 4 pieces of tubing. You really only needed 2. Now you've got $140 of material sitting there. You're not going to send back. You're going to put it on a shelf and forget about it.
Right, and you write it down on a piece of paper. It allows you to say, okay, this is piece 1, 2, and 3. It's 3-inch centerline radius, 4-inch, or 2-inch, depending on what you're ordering. You'll be able to look at how many inches, because each one of those segments is 1 inch of center line of that tubing. You know how many inches the exhaust is, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is we just got done discussing what we could do to increase the volumetric efficiency of the motor by making the exhaust the same length, front and rear. Mind you, have a step in it where it goes from 1 3/4 to 2 inch, so we have to judge how much length we have for the 1 3/4 tube over a period of distance and make that the same for the rear. So they were using 2-inch, 3-inch centerline radius pieces, and they saw where they had some spatial interference. I have a piece of 1 3/4, 2-inch centerline radius for a nice tight fit that we're going to use to create a little more length and add restriction to the rear pipe when we give it the same length.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you too can build custom exhaust for your motorcycle. You really can. That simplifies what has been a complicated task, ma'am. Yeah, if you wanna check those out and actually price that out, you can go to misfitindustries.com and they will hook you up with that. They're the sole distributor for that.
MisfitMadeMotorcycles.com.
MisfitMadeMotorcycles.com.
The kit, now understand, when you have somebody custom build you exhaust, if it's a full-length exhaust like this, they're going to spend a better portion of a day with our kit even to build it, but they're still going to spend $1,500 to $2,000 on a full custom exhaust. If you're a builder and you're able to charge your customer that, well, this kit cost retails $2,100. But the thing is that for $2,100, you build 2 exhausts, it pays for itself. You've made margin, and you're able to recreate it again and again. So that from that point forward, the ability to rapidly produce that pipe makes the difference.
Or if you're just a rider again and you have a group of friends that work on each other's bikes, you buy this kit, you got 5 or 6 friends, everybody builds a custom exhaust system. You've now saved a bunch of money. That's money in the beer till right there. Jackie, tell us what you got going on in the Progressive Parlor today.
Thanks, Pat. If you're just now joining us, we're in the middle of another great demonstration and presentation from our friends at Grease and Gears Garage, presented by Cycle Source Magazine. And here in the parlor, we are still hooking you up with all sorts of awesome free services, including free barbershop services, free airbrush tattoo, absolutely fast and absolutely free quotes from our great local agents that would love to talk to you about making the switch and saving more money by switching over to Progressive Motorcycle Insurance. And when you're here, also get signed up for your chance to win our grand prize giveaway motorcycle. We're giving away that beautiful custom BMW from our friends at Disowned Customs. When you sign up to win that beautiful bike with any of my girls with the iPads in their hands, I got some freebies and goodies for you at the swag counter as well. We've got a super busy weekend here. I'm definitely going to run out of freebies, so make sure you take advantage right now while you're here in the parlor at America's #1 insurance agent. That's us over here at Progressive Motorcycle Insurance.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks, Pat.
Chris, walk us through the discussion you're having with Evan there.
So we got the fender to shape that we want and everything, and we're starting to talk about the recesses for those forks. We talked about the fork legs are going to need a little bit of a recess. And there's a bunch of different ways, just like anything with working with metal, there's different ways you can go about it. One way he's talking about is heating this area and actually using the hammer to bring this down in. Mark is talking about relief cutting this and folding it in and welding back on the other side. We could cut this whole thing out, take a piece of exhaust tubing,
that was here.
If we took a piece of exhaust tubing, once we cut this out, we could cut that exhaust tubing in half, and that would give us the shape that we're looking for to lay that down in and just weld that back in. That'll give us a nice clean finish. So it's of those three ways, which way do we want to go about it? And what Evan just said is probably the cleanest way is to go with the piece of exhaust tubing that's going to give us the nicest finish.
You can open it up.
Yeah.
So you only flatten it out. Yeah.
So let's cut that in half. And
You know, that's really when we talk about building bikes. We're chopper guys, literally. I mean, chopping things up. I mean, we love nothing better than a cutting tool and a hammer, and beating things and cutting them into submission. But that's what a chopper is, like finding found items and working them and reusing them and making them do their own thing. You know.
you want this?
This bike we're going to use the motor out of Chris's Total Ultra Classic. The front end is off a GSXR. Bought it for $600 with brakes, controls, and everything in Long Beach. Gonna be able to use that. Oh, you're gonna weld now? You didn't get spanked enough as a child, Evan. I swear, somebody needed to put belt to bottom on that one.
That changed last night.
I think it's
You want some rod?
Oh, you did, man. I tell you that Hofbrau House. You guys know that? If you haven't been there, raise your hand if you've been to Hofbrau House. Okay, if you go there and somebody buys you a shot, do not accept it. When you do the shot, they bring it to you on a paddle. You do the shot, then they bend you over the table, and they paddle you. And you think that they're going to go, because she goes, tap, tap, tap. And you're like, well, then what you don't realize is she's taking two big steps back, an NFL kicker, right?
You guys are ball busters.
She gets all Babe Ruth on that paddle, and boom, she'll raise your feet up, your heels up off.
1, 2, 3.
Do not take the shot. I know how to take a shot. If I take a shot in some place and somebody hits me, I hit them back. There, you can't hit them back. They don't even. I didn't let them do it. Last year they did it. I had a welt for a week. Hey, but Evan got paddled last night. What's that? George is what? George Stinsman from Chaos Cycle got paddled. Everybody got paddled last night. It was like a paddle fest.
Not me.
Chris did.
Well, the
Mandy
problem was
did.
that Kyle refused. Was it Kyle? Who was somebody? Kyle wouldn't take his licks.
Well-
and I stepped up to the plate, took it like a man.
Somebody came over and asked me, should I get Evan paddled or Kyle paddled? And I thought I'd rather see Kyle get hit. But Kyle is so small, I thought they'd break his hip.
This is right here why I decided to quit drinking. When you end up in a room with other grown men talking about who wants to paddle who, I'm out. I want to find something else to do. Let's go work on motorcycles.
Sure you are, Chris. Sure you are. So it was good. We had a lot of fun in your city. We appreciate you letting us barnstorm in and barnstorm out.
Jake's here?
Jake's not. There is a guy that's got barnstorm cycles and Jeeps. Yes. Yeah, we burned it down. Matt was the one that bought me that shot last year. I didn't have any clue.
It gets us up high enough where we can come.
All right, we'll talk a little about this fuel tank. Chris, talk about the fuel tank and what Evan's doing.
So a lot of stuff has happened in this tank. We found this tank sitting on a shelf at Paco, and it was something that they were just playing around with. It fit our build well enough that we were willing to go through the modifications. It used to have a filler neck over here. We relocated that to the center, got a nice aircraft thing going on. The tunnel was a little bit too high for us, so we made our own mount here. We're going to move the tunnel down. We put this round rod on the side to give it some shape. And now basically Evan's going to finish up the welding on that. We're going to finish putting our silica bronze in, which we've been talking about the silica bronze. And if you see over here versus how that stuff looks rough when you first get it on, we load this up with silica bronze and then come back in and sand it nice and smooth like this. You don't need to put as much putty at the end to fill that. to finish it off nice. So you get a real nice finish up against that metal. Evan's going to dump a bunch of that stuff in so that we can hurry up and get this thing ready for a trip to the radiator shop for sealing, then off to the painter.
Where are we taking it?
The radiator shop.
The radiator shop.
Did I say that wrong?
No, it was perfect. You said it right. They understood what you meant. Radiator shop. I'm from the South. You know, we talk funny and they're dumb. That's what people assume. And I don't say radiator. Are you getting ready to weld? Again, if you're just joining us, this is a Grease and Gears garage stage. There's 4 of us that travel around the country with all of these tools. We go to rallies. We've been on the Progressive International Motorcycle Show tour this year. This is our 6th city. Really happy to be doing this. One of the segments that we've been doing consistently is we're building a bike from the ground up called War Pony. We invite, at every event, we have different segments. We invite custom motorcycle builders that are friends of ours that also have shops in the area. They come up and help us out, and we just thrash. What we want to do is kind of demystify tools and processes that custom motorcycle builders do on a daily basis. So you're in our shop. So what I want to tell you is you don't have to just be a static viewer. If you have a question, ask it. We've got microphones. You can ask it. We've got people on Facebook Live. You can ask questions. You can make comments. If you need to see something closer, a particular thing that we're doing that you're like, I see what you're doing there, but can I come up and get it? Come up. We'll get you up here and you can get down on it and look at it. And or if there's something in particular that somebody's doing and you'd like to try your hand at it, you know, as long as you don't cut your finger off, somebody must have insurance covering what we're doing. I don't know who. Somebody's got. Do we have it? Well, we've got insurance. We have insurance, but we don't want to use it. So don't hurt yourself up here. But anyway, that's what we do. We just want to help you guys kind of be inspired, get a little education so that you'll feel comfortable whether you have a dirt bike, a BMW, a Honda, a Royal Enfield, a Triumph, whatever you're riding. You can go back and customize a little bit, make it your own. You can do it. You might not be able to do everything, but you can do something to make that bike your own. Sorry, I didn't mean to bore you. I said that's fine. Just walk away. That's cool. It's funny. I cried on stage this year. I think that's probably the first. When did I cry twice? Oh, I was a fake cry. That wasn't a real cry. Evan, who I play with all the time, is a good friend of mine, and he could be my son. He's that age, but he's super talented. He, in our New York show, did a segment on, and just like he did yesterday, on building a motorcycle fuel tank from scratch. It takes an 18-gauge sheet of steel, and he fabricates a fuel tank on stage in an hour and a half. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. But he was doing that on stage in New York City, where he's from. His girlfriend of 6 years, Jackie, was present, as was his entire family. He's got a great support network. I called her up on stage just to kind of ask her some questions, but also to get her in place. At the end of building the fuel tank, Evan proposed to her on stage. So Grease and Gears Garage was able to, give him a big hand. He started off last year with 10.5 beautiful acres in Walk-Hill, New York. He'll probably end up 2019 with 5.25. So, I mean, that's the way that story goes right there.
Probably get them both out of that one.
That's TIG welding, tungsten inert gas welding.
Huh?
Oh, you good? Chris, can you drag this back there for me? That is a process of welding that these guys can speak more eloquently to it. They're Chris and Evan are metallurgists. They know a lot about metallurgy. But basically, you have about an 8-inch piece of tungsten rod that's sharpened to a point, goes in a torch. The electricity goes through that. You introduce then your filler material, your rod to that, steel, aluminum, whatever you're doing. And that is the process. Argon gas is the shielding gas for TIG welding. The argon gas, a lot of people think that that's what you're making a flame and that's what's making it hot. That's not. The gas doesn't burn. The gas shields to keep oxygen out so that you don't get contaminants in your weld. So those are shielding gases And so argon is the gas that you use with TIG welding.
All the body hammers are in that box.
Thank you. All right. This is the tank that Evan built for us yesterday, an hour and a half. And today he's going to finish welding it and hopefully put a bottom in it and send it home with me.
Yeah.
You can always use a free part. He's not going to, though. But Koala did hook me up with this fine leg satchel bag. They're here. What's the name of that? Shift. They sell like apparel and stuff. Really cool kind of stuff. But anyway, I got this. It's got a holster in it. Put a gun in it. But it makes me feel like my pants are falling down. I don't think I have it adjusted right. Al wants it. Yeah, if you pull a gun out in Chicago, this place is going to get exciting. Hey, man, first year I used to do work with Progressive, do stage work for them, and the first year we did this tour, I went to New York City, and I'm from the South. We carry. I didn't think anything of it. Those guys, it was under a shirt like this, so you couldn't really see it. Those guys, man, they tackled me and explained to me that was not cool. And I said, if you want to know something that's not cool, this is not cool. And they did give me my gun back, though. No, I didn't get a shot. They didn't spank me either, though. They didn't paddle me. But they were kind enough. They did take my gun, but they brought it to me at the airport. They had an officer meet me at the airport. Is that normal? Is it? That was really nice. Roy's a police officer. That's why I asked him that. Roy builds killer custom motorcycles, has produced a beautiful daughter and a son. There's really not a lot to say about him. I mean, I was going to try. Beautiful daughter, who also builds custom motorcycles, and he's a police officer. So let's give him some love, because those guys do hard work. I know I made some of them do hard work last night. They were off duty, though. They were all dressed alike.
You get close?
You don't ride with those kind of guys, do you? Those comp motorcycle clubs? Hey, Chris, what are you working on?
Hey, Pat, let me tell you a little bit of something. That's what we're going to do. So now that we've got it modeled up in plastic, we're trying to give it as much equal length as possible so that we don't have to fight it when we're tuning it. I could give it a little bit more length, but what ends up happening is I can either add 6 more inches of 1 3/4, or I can leave it alone and it'll be 2 inches less.
That's where you just have to put a loop in it at that point.
and I have an exhaust that I build that there's an entire 360-degree loop behind the rear head. That's 15 inches of tubing before it exits the head location normally. So I've done that before to create a really long equal length pipe that exits below the oil fill in the rear. So this has proportionately the same amount of 2 inch and 1 3/4. So I have a proportional loss by length of each diameter for the rear tube. So it'll be affected the same manner. It has the same amount of length by scale that allows it to have the same restrictions, so it'll be really easy to trim.
You're really tall.
You smell nice.
What did you say? No. Sometimes Chris talks.
Yeah, we can do that.
I don't understand anything he says. I got that. But he does a lot of math in his head fast. I don't do that. But you can see now, you bored them. See, he lost them. That was you can see how that system, however, has really I can tell on Al's face that he's like, oh my God, that was so fast. You can see how that system from Misfit Industries really is going to simplify the creation of a custom exhaust. How much time do we have left? All right, guys, we got about 20 minutes. And then what's up next on the stage, Jackie?
Coming up next on this stage, after our friends up there from Grease and Gears, is going to be the Alpine Stars Tech Air airbag system demo. You're not going to want to miss it. That's another really good one going on up there. And then after that, we start kicking off the J&P Cycles Ultimate Builder Custom Bike Show. So stick around. We've got a lot of action coming up on that main stage. And here in the parlor, though, we are still up and running. We're open until 5 o'clock tonight, hooking you up with awesome free services. free barbershop, free airbrush tattoo, free quote from our great local agent that would love to chat with you about how we can save you more money. We're also hooking you up with your chance to win a free bike. And when you get signed up to win that beautiful free bike, I got more freebies and goodies and swag waiting for you over at the swag counter. So come on over, folks. You are not going to want to miss it. Grab a seat, make yourselves at home, and make sure you pick up some awesome free stuff while you are here at Progressive Motorcycle Insurance.
All right. If you're just joining us on Facebook Live, or you've just kind of come to the Progressive Parlor, up to the Progressive stage, we're Grease and Gears Garage. A couple of us travel around the country with all these tools. We invite our custom motorcycle builder friends on stage, and they do show us a little slice of what they do at their shops. Today, in this segment, we've got several guys working on our tour build. We started, War Pony is the name of the bike. We started it in Long Beach at the Progressive International Motorcycle Show there, and we'll finish it in Washington, D.C. We've got Chris Moose and Crystal Hess working on exhaust, custom exhaust for it. We've got Evan Favaro from Speakeasy Motors up in New York has been helping us finish out some side covers. Chris and Mark have been working on a front fender for this. And Chris, how's that fender coming along?
Good. You know, one of the things I want to talk about, Chris was talking to you guys about volumetric efficiency when you're making custom exhaust. And this was one of my pet peeves about watching chopper guys make pipes, is you get one pipe here, man, it's like this long, and then they make this other pipe and it's this long. And none of them ever want to talk about volumetric efficiency. And one of my favorite things is to see, like, in that system that he has, they actually give you a chart to figure out, based on how many pieces of that tubing you're using, what the volumetric equation is from one pipe to the other. That way you end up with more balance, because everything that works on this motor, these motors are so much more efficient today than the old motors were. So all that back pressure and the space that this thing has to pump that exhaust through, keeping that the same from one cylinder to the other is way more crucial in a twin cam or even an Evolution motor than it ever was before, you know. And seeing exhaust, like custom exhaust guys start to figure that out is awesome.
Yeah.
Because we used to do it the old-fashioned way of filling stuff up. You know, we'd say, well, you pour that out and like you end up with the same. But I mean, that's based on CC and heads. It's the same thing.
Right.
It's a roundabout way to get to it, but it's so nice to see something like this give you an upper hand.
Well, you know, because you'll see these guys, it's what used to be really in vogue was they'd get choppers and they'd put S&S 124 motors in them, and then they'd have those pipes that just dump down right there.
Yeah.
And now what you've ended up with is something probably less efficient than a 74-inch shovel head, you know?
Dude, I remember my first chopper buddy. We got done making a set of pipes, and I was writing about it for the magazine. They were beautiful and wrapped and everything. We had them sitting on the table, and I'm taking the last shot of the tech article, and I was like, so what do you do to ensure volumetric efficiency? And he was like, what? And he said, this is chopper pipes, man. I said, still a motor. I don't know. I mean, chopper or not, that's still a...
Yeah, you can always tell if a guy really likes riding or if he just likes being looked at. But you can obviously you can make a beautiful exhaust system that's going to work well. So a lot of guys, you know, that used to be real popular, straight pipes. Guys will still put them on stuff. It's just not healthy for your motor. You don't get enough back pressure in your motor. The motor wasn't designed to run that way. You got to have something to give you a little pushback. Another segment that we did on stage, and we're about to wrap up. I think we got about 5 minutes, but you'll see this slip-on pipe that's on the end of this exhaust system. It's actually built by Nick Bollier from Forever Two Wheels, Maine. We have a segment out there on our YouTube channel, Cycle Source Magazine. All this is out there on the social media sources. JMP Cycles has it. But you can go back and look, and he actually built that on stage from inside out. He built that tail on there. Just love these sounds, man. It's like music. Now he's just showing off. What Evan is doing there with the hammer on that tank, you can do two things with metal. Aaron Green, who's a fabulous metal shaper from California, was on one of our segments in Sturgis, and he reminded us, he said, you can do two things with metal. You can bend, you can stretch it, or you can shrink it. That's all you can do to metal. You can stretch it or shrink it. So what Evan's doing there is he had that tank made in three pieces. The two that are meeting in the front now, he's hammering dollying that to stretch that material to close that gap. So he's actually, thinning that metal out so that he can weld it up. You never want to gap any place when you're welding. You want things to fit as close as possible. When you're TIG welding, you absolutely don't want to gap because it does not like that. If you're MIG welding, you shouldn't, but I have. You can close a gap with a MIG welder, but you really don't want to be building your stuff out of welding wire. You'd rather have it be real metal. So, Heather, how close are we to being done? Oh, we got 10 more minutes. Okay. Again, we've got the red screen there because Evan looks better in red light, and he's on TV. He's on OCC's. He's the lead fabricator there at Orange County Choppers now, as well as owning his own shop, Speakeasy Motors, but he demands red light. It's part of his, no, it's to shield you from the flash burn of the welder. Never look directly into a weld. You'll get flash burn the corneas of your eyes. It'll burn your face. It will feel like a sunburn. It's basically the same thing, but it'll burn you. It's like your eyes if you look directly at the sun. It'll burn your corneas. You're never supposed to do that. Same thing is true with welding. A lot of people will close their eyes to do a tack weld, believing that that's going to protect their eyes. Your eyelids aren't thick enough to protect your corneas from flash burn. Plus, you should never close your eyes when you're welding because you can't see what you're doing. It's just a bad idea. Chris, how's that coming? You happy with how that's looking?
I like them better.
I'll tell you what I'm happiest about. We were making jokes about this earlier throughout the week and stuff that one of the guys said how crafty it was for me to figure out a way to get all my buddies to help work on my motorcycle. But the truth about that is this is how building motorcycles always was for us. When your buddy had something going on, man, everybody from the neighborhood came over. There was one guy that could wire better. There was one guy that could paint. Everybody threw in and did something, and I mean, this is my favorite part of shop time is when your buddies are around, man, and everybody grabs a project and you're doing stuff. I'm just lucky enough to have
really talented friends.
Yeah, I have really talented friends, and I'm super, super grateful to them. So before we wrap things up here today, I want to make sure that I said that. I thank these guys so very much for being here because individually they're all way more talented than I'll ever be. They brought a lot to this build, and I really appreciate it.
Well, and that's true. I don't know how many people ever get near custom motorcycle shops, but I know very few shops that have multiple employees. They're mostly 1-2-man operations that are doing the work. And so I moved to Iowa a little over 2 years ago. I'm a one-man shop. I had to build a bike. The first bike I built in Iowa, and I was kind of lost. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know any shops, so I ran into Al at Bitter End Choppers, and if it hadn't been for him, it actually was funny how I met him though. I needed a neck for my frame, and so I got online and it said that he was out of that particular style. I needed it then. I was doing it for a biker build-off thing, and I needed it then. I had 5 weeks to build a bike, and so I call up to see if they're really out of stock or if they had some already made. So I call up. He's like, no, I've got it. And I said, can you overnight it to me?
Let's do that.
I said, I absolutely have to have it. I don't care what it costs. Overnight it to me. And he said, well, where are you at? And I said, I'm in Adel, Iowa. He went quiet on the other phone, and then he called. He said, dump. I'm in Pleasant Hill. I'm like 30 minutes away. Why don't you just drive over and pick it up? So I got to meet Al and find out that he's got a lot of cool stuff going on over there. Through him, I've been able to meet Bob and Bob's son, and who have a bike here in the show. And But that's what it is. We always are helping each other. So if you're going to build custom bikes and you don't have friends helping you, you're not going to build very many custom bikes, that's for sure. Except Evan, because he does it all. How you doing on that tank, Evan? I like it. It'll be that's a big gas cap. All right, guys, 4 minutes to wrap it up.
So after
Crystals are going all right? You got Moose straightened out? He needs a lot of help, that guy. You watch it. These guys haven't been dating long, but it makes it really awkward trying to hit on Crystal and flirt with her when he's around. It's annoying. He's always around, too. He is. I guess you are, too, then. They're always around. Crystal, we only have a few minutes, and she doesn't have a microphone, so I'll tell you about it. Crystal does a cool thing, motorcycle missions in Austin, Texas, where she is a nurse by trade, but she has a program, a nonprofit, where she takes veterans, brings them in the program, and they build motorcycles. They learn how to build motorcycles, learn those skills, and helps them deal with their post-traumatic stress disorder. So she has a program that does that for veterans and first responders for the treatment of PTSD. They also have just recently started a dirt bike class, kind of part of that program too, to help guys get out and about. One of the big things that I've picked up from just the last show in Dallas, because you had a lot of your guys there, was the fact that, post-traumatic stress disorder, you think, these guys are walking around, they're just rageful. They're not. They sit at home quiet by themselves, trying not to have contact with people. So her program, that's one of the huge kind of symptoms. So this program draws them out, connects them to people, and gives them something to do with their hands and their minds other than dwell on all of the other things that are going on in their hearts and souls. So it's really cool. So thank you for doing that. Oh, yes, the veterans have a motorcycle in the championship round over there. It is a kind of a board track racer style bike they've built. It's a shovel head. There's a microphone. Tell them about the bike that you got in the championship.
It's a 74 shovel it's in a custom board track frame, but it was in a 56 panhead frame when we got it. And there was a veteran that donated the bike to us to use for this build. He was unable to ride anymore after injuries he sustained on duty. So we repurposed his bike, and 8 veterans got to build this new bike. And the bike was in Dallas IMS last weekend, and it won People's Choice, and it won freestyle. Yeah. So it made it to the championship round. So if you guys are ever in the championship room, it's the board track bike on the very far back left. It's like a blue and gray.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So thank you, Crystal, for doing that. That's a great program. Folks, we are out of time. This is Greasing Gears Garage. Again, you can go online. This is the fender. They've got the relief done on that side. That looks really good. That is progress. That is good. The bike still doesn't run. Let's get on it. We got to ride that bike in 2 weeks to help the stage, so that's going to be a big test for us. So, ladies and gentlemen, check us out online. Go to YouTube, Greasing Gears Garage. You can go to jmpcycles.com and check up on us with Greasing Gears Garage, motorcycleshows.com, or go to Cycle Source social media, and we're there as well. Thank you very much.
We'll make some noise for our friends at Greasing Gears Garage up there, working hard every single weekend.